So is this call likely to happen and when?
Well, it could happen as early as July, according to sources that have been working close to the U.S. officials who are trying to get this phone call to happen. It could happen in August. Very unlikely, almost impossible to think that they will have a face-to-face meeting before, of course, the Party Congress in the autumn. That's going to be either in October or November, when, of course, Xi Jinping will likely secure his third straight term in office. But keep in mind as well, in November, in Asia-Pacific, we do have the APEC gatherings in November in Bangkok and Thailand, as well as the G20 in Bali around the same weekend. So that could provide. But we're getting ahead of ourselves. They want to have a phone call. The United States wants to have a phone call with China. They haven't spoken, these two gentlemen, since March 18th. And it was constructive, but, you know, on some of these contentious issues, as you mentioned, Taiwan and particularly Ukraine, it got a little bit frosty, where Biden warned Xi that there would be consequences if China provided support for Vladimir Putin's war in Ukraine. And of course, there's been more rhetoric of late with Taiwan, of course, after Biden was in the Asia-Pacific meeting with allies in South Korea as well as Japan, and hosting that Quad meeting in Japan, or participating in that Quad meeting in Japan. And more recently, U.S. officials are saying they're growing increasingly alarmed at Chinese rhetoric, essentially in private conversations. Increasingly and at all levels, the Chinese have been saying that the Taiwan Strait is not international water. So there's lots to discuss since, of course, that last call on March 18th. This is what Nicholas Burns said overnight. He is the ambassador, the U.S. ambassador to China. He says, we want stability in the relationship with China, and that takes connecting. He goes on to say that intense diplomacy is underway to make a Xi-Biden call happen. And any call would follow what has transpired this week. Essentially, the National Security Advisor, Jake Sullivan, and China's top diplomat, Yang Jiechi, they have met this week in Luxembourg. So that is kind of a precursor, perhaps, to that big, mighty Xi-Biden phone call or video call.